Okay, now we're going to talk about secondary dominants. A secondary dominant is when a dominant chord is borrowed from another key. And this is what I mean. If we have a song that's in C major, which chord is the dominant chord? The answer is G7 is the dominant chord in the key of C. But it's not uncommon that we can take a dominant chord from another key and still stay in the key of C. This is what I mean. In our first little jam here, we're going to play C, and then I'm going to play a G chord, but I'll have B in the bass. And now I'm going to go to an A chord. So ask yourself, what A chord is the natural chord in C major? And the answer is A minor. But we're not going to play A minor, we're going to play A7. And the chords sound great together. Here's C, here's G with the B in the bass. Now I'm going to play A7. The rest of this song is going to have D minor, and then F, and G. And then we'll be back to C. So, as you can hear, it still sounds like we're in the key of C major, even though we have an A7 chord. Okay, so that's a secondary dominant. The A7 chord is a secondary dominant. We've borrowed the A7 chord from another key, even though we've stayed in C major. So now the big question is, what do we do with that secondary dominant? It's going to sound kind of funny if we stay in C major and solo over an A7 chord, because the A7 chord has a note that's not in C major, and that note is C sharp. So there are three possibilities. First thing is we can play an arpeggio. So if we play an A7 arpeggio over the A7 chord, it's going to sound great every time. An arpeggio is simply playing the notes of a chord in the form of a scale. A7 has A, C sharp, E, and G in there. So here is an A7 arpeggio. A, C sharp, E, and G. And then I can repeat that. A, C sharp, E, and G. And on top, I can also play A and C sharp. The other thing I can do over a dominant chord is play mixolydian. Mixolydian is a great mode to play over dominant chords. So I can stay in C major, and when I get to the A7 chord, I can play A mixolydian. The third thing we can do is play harmonic minor. So because this chord following the A7 chord is D minor, I can play D harmonic minor over the A7 chord. And that's also known as A Phrygian dominant. So over the A7 chord, I can think D harmonic minor because we're going to a D minor chord, or I can simply call the scale A Phrygian dominant. Okay, so those three possibilities. You can play an arpeggio, you can play mixolydian, or you can play harmonic minor. So over the A7 chord, you play an A7 arpeggio, you can play an A mixolydian scale, or you can play A Phrygian dominant, which is the same as D harmonic minor. So let's check out a solo using some secondary dominants here, okay? Check it out.